Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and welcome to this April 28th through May the 4th Astrology Horoscope Update. I am David Palmer, Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. I'm also live on Instagram now, live on High Vibe, and I'm live here on YouTube. So, hitting up everyone on this live. Got the format changed up a little bit. Hope everybody's doing wonderful out there. Before I go into today, I did want to just show everybody the 30-second trailer of what is going on, except for Instagram people, you can't. But you can go on my YouTube right now if you're on Instagram. But everybody else out there on High Vibe or on YouTube, I just wanted to put out there the Rising Through the Darkness Purgatory, little quick 30-second trailer. That's it, 30 seconds. Check it out real quick. Well, make sure that you check out Purgatory, Rising Through the Darkness. Go to highvibe.tv, click on the menu, which says Purgatory on there. And, of course, you can get access to it by going through there to make the purchase and then download any of our apps, Roku, Apple TV, iOS, or Android, and watch it from there or watch it from the computer or Chromecast it as well. Well, I'm here sitting on this week. I mean, you know me, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm not here to put that this is a bad week or this is a good week. I'm here to be an astrologer and just tell you all what's going to happen. And this one has so many weird elements to it that I really am not perplexed or confused by it, but it's definitely got a lot of twists and turns to this week. And there's a lot of pressure. One of the best things that I can put about this week is pressure. And it's not only just about the collective, because I know that a lot of my astrology, especially out there more in public, on High Vibe, of course, I go much more deeper into the sun signs and so forth, but all the sun signs are going through it with this Uranus square Saturn. And I think I want to make a good astrological insight into Uranus square Saturn because we are seeing both sides of the square. Now, at the beginning of this year, of course, we all had in December, on the 21st of 2020, we had Jupiter and Saturn conjunct. And that was a big moment at 0 Aquarius, especially because we've never seen that before. We've never got to see Saturn and Jupiter conjunct and actually, technically, it would have been Jupiter conjunct Saturn. But we never saw that great conjunction in Aquarius. We've always seen it in Capricorn right before, but we've never seen it in Aquarius in any of our lives or anybody that we know in our lives. So Saturn came up into Aquarius and squared Uranus first. Now we are starting to build up to Uranus that's moving forward in Taurus, as now Saturn is stopped at the last degree where it comes retrograde at the end of May, where now it's going to be Uranus that squares Saturn. And we're going to see these two being square for a good minute here, and then they're going to square again at the end of this year, later on in the year, I should say, with a retrograde that's going to be with Uranus. And then, of course, this is definitely trying times, pressure around stability in all areas of life. And you have to go back to the last Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which of course was in Taurus. And that was when Uranus was in Aquarius. So now we are seeing the flip. So Jupiter and Saturn are in Aquarius. And they're the biggest planets, and they're in Aquarius, all this collective and, you know, society and what to connect to, what to disconnect with. But I think we can feel both sides of it, right? There are things that we're excited about our futures for, or are we terrified of the future? I mean, it all depends on where you are kind of living in this weird moment as Neptune is at 22 degrees of Pisces, and we're really at a place where things feel very, no matter how much you can try and stay positive with the South Node in Sag, the North Node in Gemini is bringing a lot of, facts that we're trying to figure out, and our minds are trying to figure a lot out. And there's this kind of stress on the collective to figure things out all the time, or, feeling like there's always sometimes a lack of connection to things, especially in the emotional realms, now that Mars is in Cancer, kind of forcing us to go into, what's going to fulfill us emotionally in such a unstable time. 2020, of course, was a really anomaly and crazy year with the aspects that we had of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And of course, a lot of astrologers, we all did predict that it would be the craziest year of our lives. But now the crazy is different. The crazy then was just the transformation of structures changing and feeling restricted in many ways and blocked, like Capricorn brings. This is more like real crazy, like crazy. Like, this makes no sense. Like, this is lacking stability. And of course, we're in Taurus, and there's a lot of energy in Taurus. We got Venus in Taurus, its home. We've got the Sun here that's going to meet this week with Uranus, and it's going to square over to Saturn. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a pressure spot. The pressure spot in the zodiac right now is in the fixed signs. And that pressure spot happens to be in a really weird zone. I mean, Taurus with Uranus being in Taurus's zone, that's Venus's house. And so, the feel-good energies, the quality of whether it's things itself, money, things that make you feel good, we're having to find different weird things, right? Some of it's good though, for I'll use like stupid example, but it's not stupid. It's like sometimes it's like the last thing that you would think about that would make you feel good. Like sometimes it's just now the walk around the corner that's exciting. You know what I mean? Or, as I'm getting older, I mean, I know a lot of my fans are gonna be like, you're not old. I'm gonna be 37 here in July. But, it's like, okay, I have that, like, the old man's chair now with the ottoman that I can sit and read on, right? Like, those are like things that you're just like, what? Like, that makes me happy now, right? But there's still an emptiness because Saturn and Uranus bring a very unstable world, number one. And of course, it doesn't help with Neptune in Pisces with the media's perspective of, well, what is really stable, what is not stable. We have to use our own minds and our own observations of our own collective environment to make those choices, because Neptune can really get us lost. And with the Sun coming in Taurus, where it's got Venus there, so Venus is the ruler of Taurus, right? That's Venus's house. And so here's the Sun in Taurus, like, I want to be Taurus, like, I want to feel good. I want to have nice things around me. I want to have quality things. I want to have touch. I want to have good enrichment. I want to have all these things that make me feel great and wonderful. It's the garden. I want to build things that make me feel like I'm worth building on the planet. I want to have my self-worth. I want to have all these great things. Well, the squares that are coming to all this Aquarius energy are like, well, especially with Saturn this week, like, where's the blocks about connection? That's the big one. Like, or the ability for something to come into our lives, right? Because many ways Aquarius is, to me, it's a doorway, but it's a unique doorway. It's a maze. Or it also is the code to try and crack in order to get access to that door that we want to have, especially with Jupiter being in Aquarius. There's like these codes that we're trying to crack, and a lot of it is within ourselves of why are we, blocking connection to certain things. Some of it's protective, right? Especially with the full moon in Scorpio that we had to start off this week, that hit this Saturn-Uranus square, or is it Uranus-Saturn square? It's both. And it comes from both sides. We have not seen Uranus square Saturn yet in this transit for 2021. Because with Uranus moving forward, And with Saturn stopped, now we're going to see Uranus go, ha ha ha. It's like a chess game. It's like, ha ha, I'm making the move now. And Uranus brings a lot more upheavals, unpredictability. And one of my biggest predictions that I've been predicting for the last, 4 months here is that when this starts to come down, with the planets starting to retrograde and with this transit about to hit, that the world is going to go in totally a different direction that we are all hearing in the media, that we're hearing even in our own selves of our idea of our mind, or a lot of it has to deal with, I think, just our own personal control of how we want life to look like and be. And so at these times, being a gambler on what is for sure is crazy, right? It's crazy. Nothing is for sure at this moment. And I think that that's the best way that I could help describe this moment for you in life for this week is don't be so sure. It was interesting. Tonight was the president addressing Congress, and it felt like everything was so sure. It felt very Sag rising that he has with the South Node there. And I have nothing, maybe I don't agree with his policies and stuff, but it's not like it was like a negative speech. It was actually very positive. But there was also a lot of surety but unsurety about things. But also at the same time, it's these ideas that, can be in many ways great, but they're more beliefs or perspectives of the world, and whether or not the facts line up with if that would really be good, right? Or what's the real facts to the story in which is being projected, right? And so we all have to do that to ourselves, is go, are we creating our own stories that the facts aren't going to fit into? And I feel that the most dangerous part of our lives right now is our over-optimism in our false stories that factually don't line up in ourselves, to ourselves. And of course, then that extends into how we view and perceive the future and the world, because there's just, as an astrologer, whether it was me screaming for 3 years from 2017, 2018, 2019 about like, y'all better be prepared for 2020 and a plague and all these kind of things that I put out there. There's a ton of all that stuff that came true. It's the same as how I'm looking at this moment and how it could feel for some people like, oh, it's stable. Everything's going to go this way. And I'm just sitting here going, oh my gosh, the pressure of the zit is about to pop in the unpredictability realm, and the rudder of the ship is about to get thrown off. You know what I mean? And the winds, it's like there was that movie, I think it was, what was it? It was with Russell Crowe. It was Master and Commander, where there's no wind, and then the boat can't go anywhere, right? It's like, oh, you had a lot of ideas of getting here and getting there, but the wind doesn't blow anymore, right? It's like, what the heck? And they have to deal with that. And they go off the island and they start searching for little things. And so that's kind of the way that things are going to look over these, especially coming into May. But as we really get into this May, we're going to start to see retrogrades, right? We're going to start to see Saturn retrograde. We're about to see Mercury retrograde in its home sign of Gemini, squaring Neptune. Mercury's flying this week, 2 degrees a day. I mean, this is definitely us, kind of flying by things really fast. But Pluto has brought the retrograde to remind you of that deeper truth inside of you. Does this feel in alignment? Or am I manipulating my own self based off control? Am I in a place where I'm completely lost into this weird story that I'm creating, that everything's going to be fine because I don't want to deal with the truth? And that truth is a deeper truth of how has your life really been going? I've had to face a lot of this stuff in myself, especially with Mars and Cancer, because it gets really transpersonal with yourself. It forces you to get transpersonal with yourself. Forces you to look at your personal life and go, okay, what am I not getting? Mars is very demanding. I want this. I need to have this now, right? My There I am. I'm back. I do have two cameras too. It gets very transpersonal. It gets, right. It wants to get right to that personal issue in your life. What's that personal issue? So like, I'm open and I'm always open. Some people don't like that, but I feel like that's a good quality for astrologers. I just recently moved and I was living at these studios for a year just because I don't know, during the whole, me, whatever this story is, it's a story. I was like, well, I didn't know how the story was going to go exactly. I knew that for years it was coming and all that stuff, but I thought it'd be cool to live here. I had the ability to, and just work for a year straight, pretty much not take any breaks. So I just moved 2 weeks ago and got a nice place, and now I do the commute here and all that stuff. And I hit a brick wall last night when I got home. I had a brick wall emotionally that I realized that I like to work because I don't like my personal life. I don't like going home and sitting there and reading and watching a movie or cooking or just sitting there. I just get really bored. I enjoy my animals. I enjoy reading. I enjoy, watching a nice movie. I enjoy those things. I like playing Call of Duty. I like playing MLB, the show that they just brought on Xbox, even though I'm a PlayStation person, but I have an Xbox there, whatever, right? I like these things. I'm a human being like all of us. We have our things that we enjoy, we like. But I feel very empty at my house because I realize I enjoy doing my work, right? I love my work. I love doing my mission. I love creating. And so it's a good thing that I have my separation of my personal life and my work life, which is this is where we're at. Mars is in Cancer. And here's Pluto that just retrograded in Capricorn. So Pluto's doing the deeper look at stuff, and Mars is kind of directly putting you into the opposition, which is the foundation of your life. And then, of course, Pluto is going deep into the fruit of the tree and what you're creating out of that life. And so for me, I don't know, I really got to a space in my life. I was like, I hit a brick wall last night just because I realized how unhappy I am, that I don't really enjoy my personal life. I'm racing this weekend, but again, that's like a achievement thing. So I'm very Capricornian. I really like achievements, but like sitting down and eating Haagen-Dazs and a fucking grape fucking popsicle and shit like that, and just sitting there and watching a movie, like, that's really boring to me if I'm just by myself in my life. Like, I'm single. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know how people did it for the last year in this crazy story of what they put out there and sat at home, or people that are still sitting at home. I don't know how y'all did it. I, for a year, was away from the world's whole being around people that are just at home all the time. I was in work mode, and I, based off the law, was allowed to work and keep the work going and have my employees work. I'm blessed. I don't know how y'all do it. Especially those that are single out there. I don't know how y'all do it. I would go insanity. And pressure is building in this, and I want to show you all, and unfortunately if you're on Instagram, you're going to have to go to my YouTube to watch this, or be on High Vibe and watch it, because I want to show what all the sun signs are going through all at once. We're not going to go through every sun sign, but I just want to show you how powerful Uranus in Taurus is, that the sun's going to conjunct this week, and how it's going to square Saturn in Aquarius, but Saturn's in its home sign, and how it is ruling such powerful rulers for every sign, especially because Saturn's in its home sign. And it's one of those things to where it's a much stronger square than people realize. And it's going to bring up a lot of things this week and the pressure. And you know what? I'm so free with life at the moment, I don't even care. I'll just go through all 12 signs and where the pressure's at. So I'm doing this transit for Friday just because it's one of those things where it's kind of in between, but it's really the sun conjuncting Uranus, and then 3 days after that we're going to see the sun square Saturn. So each rising sign, of course, is the solar sun sign that you're in, or the rising sign that you're in. So for Aries, this of course is happening in the 11th house right here with with Saturn, and it's the square to Uranus and the Sun, of course, happening in the second house of Taurus, right? So that's, you know, an interesting one to me because, you know, that's, of course, with Venus being in Taurus, there's that whole element that while the Sun's in that sign right now of Taurus, we're all, as every zodiac sign, going through, and as a collective going through, the energy of the full energy of Taurus and the full energy of Aquarius. And so when you just take those houses, right, and this is me teaching a little astrology, so for Aries, the ruler of the second house is Taurus, so Venus is in that house. And the ruler for Aquarius is Saturn, and there it is. Or that ruler is also Uranus, which makes it a little bit weird. That it's going against, you know, in many ways, this battle I talk about very deeply in Purgatory. And so when you look at this square and you look at the astrology for this week, we do have Mercury and Neptune linking up. I guess I'm just going to stick with one sign. I've already done all this for everybody on High Vibe, and that's a lot of work for me to go through every sign, just give horoscopes when I already just did them. But when you look at this astrology, we're going to have to, number one, check within ourselves if we are too worried about how our sovereign, beautiful, blessed soul experience of a life itself. So if you're not feeling blessed in this life, I don't know what to tell you. No matter where you're at in your life, it's when you get through the understanding that you are blessed to have such a beautiful life, which there are energies, there are soul energies in the universe that would do anything for this experience. But where are you feeling like you are in the maze? Like you can't have maybe it all, right? Like it's one of those things where you can't have it all. So I know that a lot of people out there, and especially people who are in the truther community, which I consider myself in and so forth, you know, feel like, you know, there's this force out there that's trying to take everybody over. Well, they're not going to be able to take everybody over, right? Like that's already apparent in the astrology. Like they want the Taurus lot of everything to own and to have, but yet Aquarius is there's a lot of different people, and there's also, so looking at it from a positive point of view, you can't take over everybody, but again, they take over a lot of people, right? Looking at it from another perspective, though, there's an element to this where it's like that pressure that's building within yourself is like, okay, you know something has to change. Uranus is a change. It's not a Pluto transformational issue, although it is a outer planet, so it is not part of, you know, more of the physical realms. It does deal with more of an outer realm and more of a psychological realm as well, too, in your human psyche. But it is Uranus. It's a connective force. And in Taurus there, it's like, how do I attain what I really want to feel better in my life with, but also understanding that in order for me to keep ascending in my life, that my value in myself has to keep ascending, even when I feel like things that I am not connected with at the moment, Saturn, Aquarius, are not connecting. That's a hard one. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for all of us to continue to feel blossoming and great and beautiful, even when it might feel delayed, or it might feel like it's too slow, or it might feel like inside you're not. Now, I know there's already going to be people out there who are like, oh, what do you mean? The world's going great. You're such a bad person. You always talk shit on the world. I'm like, I'm not talking shit on the world. I'm just trying to say that, like, you can try and use the, like, oh, you don't have to wear a mask anymore outside if you've got the shot. Like, I'm just waiting for the, you know, yellow stars of David for people who haven't got it yet to be walking around, which they're using as the mask now. Has anybody thought about that one yet? But I think that the biggest part of it is there are going to be people who are going to feel like they're overconfident right now, especially with Mars and Cancer, which to me, you know, with it, Mars being in the fall position, right? It's like, oh, I feel safe. I feel safe because I'm getting what I want in my life, which it's like, Uranus is like, how much are you asking for? And you know what's sad is when I look at society today, and this is what I'm going to get to the meat of this issue, or the artichoke heart of this issue. Love those artichoke hearts. I like a good artichoke that's grilled on a barbecue It has that little flavor. It has that good shit. And then eating the artichokes, we get to the artichoke part of this, is that society and the world are taking crumbs and making it like, this is amazing. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, let's just be real. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say that I'm going to use my North Node in Gemini, which I have to be, that I'm not a doctor. But my common sense comes in and goes, fuck, you were wearing a mask outside by yourself walking around already the whole time? And when I look around and I ask people that, and especially I'm in Southern California and LA and stuff like that, like, people do that. Which kind of blows my mind that there's no common sense here in the world. And I look at this transit and the pressure that's coming up too, is that, are people really, and you have to like take the world and but use this for your own personal life here. It's like, are you accepting breadcrumbs? Like, I'll just take this because at least it's better than what I've got. Or are you going to own up and stand up for your rights of what is the ultimate and the greatest? Because this is the test. The test with Saturn and Uranus in square is, are you going to betray yourself? And are you going to betray the collective? Because the betrayal has always been Kronos, Saturn, to his father, Uranus. And when we see this square happen, this is the betrayal of people to the people by taking breadcrumbs and taking those breadcrumbs and calling it amazing, great, Disneyland, spectacular. It's not. And with also disregarding people who haven't got anything. So now we live in a who has and who doesn't society, which they have been already trying to tell you forever with money. Look at these people who have money and look at these people who don't. Now they've just increased their dark game of being like, you have this shot, one or two, and you don't. You're not allowed to go out and enjoy the freedom of your life that you were bestowed upon in the Constitution of the United States. You're not allowed to, even though the truth is it's a recommendation. Let's not all forget about that. You hear it over and over. Well, the CDC, they recommend that people have actually taken recommendations and created it as actual truth. I can recommend that everybody here would have a better life if they looked better. What a pompous and horrible thing to actually say, right? And I'm using that as a joke because it's like, however you want to feel in your life that makes you feel better is you. But if I had that idea of what I recommend, like, oh, maybe you should look more like me. Or maybe you should, I don't know, wear a certain kind of clothes. Maybe you need to maybe you need to look more edgy and more badass and just wear black leather and stuff like that. That would be just a crazy statement. That the idea that all humans are the same is insanity. We share very common characteristics, having to breathe oxygen, and we all have similar organs. I mean, they operate the same, but they all definitely are not the same. You know, you'll look at organ transplants. Like, you can't just take any organ and put it in you. It's got to be a certain blood type. It's got to be a certain this. We are very unique. And I think that this is a moment in our life where it's like, are we giving away our humanity because it was recommended that we do? And there's only one central voice that's coming out with what to do. And it kind of blows my mind. And this is just some honest truth based upon the astrology of this week too, which I'll show. I mean, this is just Friday's chart, but you know, it's like one of those things where it's like, not only is it that sun that's going to be on top of Uranus and the square to Saturn. But as we're starting to see Mercury here, Mercury, of course, is flying 2 degrees a day, sextile Neptune. Mercury's on its way to square Jupiter. Jupiter's doing about 7, I think it's about 7 minutes a day. So Jupiter will make it to Pisces before the retrograde in June. But, it's weeks away from coming into Pisces here and ending this moment. But one of the things, and I don't like to speak his name, but there's an asteroid here named L with the U and ends with an R. He's the angel that fell. Is at 29 Leo and opposing Jupiter and Aquarius. And the nodes happen to be on the opposition of Taurus and Sag, the south node, and the north node in Gemini with Aldebaran. This is the battle of light and dark. This is not because, I hate to say it, because some fucking crazy people that use a letter say it. This is like what I've been saying and a lot of other astrologers have been saying for a long time, before any of that came out. This battle of light and dark. Palladian channels have been saying it since fucking I don't even know. You can go back to the 80s and Barbara Marciak. You can go back a long time. And they talk about these star systems, and that's what I did Purgatory about. I go into Dante's work, and even Dante goes into this purgatory and goes into this inferno and to this paradiso. But even the geocentric universe idea and Dante's stars and the ladder of contemplation, I mean, these are things that the North Node and we are at right now. And this Taurus energy is who really has the value of humanity at stake is the individuals within the reality and within the collective that own humanity's value by being the best for humanity and having to take the moment and the time to think about the long-term repercussions instead of the quick now thank you ma'am, which is what this shot does, is a quick thing of get it all done fast. This is where Taurus is like, slow the fuck down. Number one, Saturn square is saying slow the fuck down. Is this science correct? But you question, which is what North Node and Gemini is asking for us to do, anything right now, and you are labeled as that you are on the wrong side of the fence. Why don't you join those people who have to wear masks outside now? This is exactly what went down in Nazi Germany with Uranus and Taurus, by the way. And I love triggering people, but I love you because I know history, and I know the astrology, and I know the history. So it's like, you all thought Trump was the fucking Hitler? Or the fascist? The biggest fascist right now is anybody that's combining the government and corporations together, while at the same time saying we're going to tax those corporations. So it's like very funny. Look at GM and how they're going to build all the electric cars for the government, right? Okay, so raise the tax rate, which is basically screwing the people in many ways. Because if you think about it, it's like, okay, the government's going to go give a bunch of money to this corporation that they're in bed with, but then they're going to charge that corporation. I guarantee you with tax laws, unless it's a government grant or a government thing, that you won't be taxed on it. So really, it's only going to affect the corporations that aren't in bed with the government, which are the people that own small businesses and stuff like that, that also were forced to shut down, while the other side wanted you to have your freedom and stay open. I mean, it's pretty clear, but people don't want to like fucking look at this shit at all. Like people are like so removed and been so fucking lost because they don't understand the sovereignty of a human being anymore. They have attached it to whether or not you have a shot. That's everything. When life brings you, what Aquarius teaches you is life is in every corner of the universe and it's in every part of our being. and that we experience through our life so many different things. So many different. I don't know if you know this stat, but in 2020, STDs rose more than they have in like a decade. But everybody's so blindsided and only looking at what one thing needs to be fixed. And anybody who questions that this is the road to go down, especially during this time when this is where the unpredictability is about to get really weird, is that the test has to deal with betrayal. And the betrayal to the Benedict Arnolds of society that choose to join the recommendations of following a procedure that is putting their brothers and sisters into a category as leopards, yet in many ways they're choosing a route that has no evidence of what this thing is going to do with when it enters into your body. Especially, how long does it activate for? How long is your body with a synthetic? You've never been injected with a synthetic anything before. How long is it going to tell as the messenger within there, which we are talking about North Node Gemini, the messenger. That's kind of interesting, right? That the real messenger of the universe is Mercury. And the messenger is the messenger of God. Not the messenger that's changing God's beautiful form. So I thought I'd bring out some old shit from John Dee from 1564. Because like we're at that kind of place now in life, right? Where it's like I gotta pull out facts and history and actually use, if we're gonna like be in these nodes, and I was born with these nodes in these same positions, if we're actually gonna do that, then maybe like if you really want to understand how astrology works, and also if you are in alignment with the universe or not, it's a lot more than synchronicities by stop signs or license plate numbers and phone calls that show up out of nowhere. Okay? Just gonna be honest, not trying to discredit any of those. Those are beautiful, and I'm guided by them too. But because we're in such a pressure moment here in your life, to make sure that we're not betraying humanity and that we're not betraying ourselves, and then we're also not betraying ourselves by not connecting to the things we really want to have in our lives, and allowing ourselves to realize that the ultimate block is, why aren't we connecting to the life that we all want to have by giving away our humanity to somebody and to some voice with a story that won't give you all the evidence, or number two, will also emergency push you on something as an experiment with giving you no data on things that you never probably thought about. You only thought about that it will save you, but you didn't think about what it will do for the rest of your life. You didn't think about what it will do to others. Because the thing that makes this story so crazy is the one thing that made this thing that supposedly in the story is wiping everybody out, which it didn't do that, but it wiped out people, but it didn't wipe out everybody, is that there was a spike in your drink, and I hope that you're getting a lot of protein when you eat. So that thing is the thing that's attached to this thing. That's the one thing that causes problems where they're finding it in the brain, your lungs, your kidneys, everywhere, where a normal cough doesn't get that way. So obviously it's not normal. It's not human or bad. But why would you then turn everybody into a factory that will never stop making the one thing that causes this to be the thing that supposedly shut down the world. Why would you make everybody's body into a pumped up factory to never stop making it? What happens with that? Because when you take a traditional shot, it's a live virus, the actual live thing. So your body learns to deal with it and then it dies, like everything. But when you start going synthetic, it doesn't die. And what I want to show you all, well, I think help make it clear, because I really do hope that people really, at one moment in their lives, will take a look down the rabbit hole much farther than they normally do. You know, one thing about this book, which I love, actually, I have a bigger version of it. One of my things during this time that I've been doing that I've been really, because honestly, I hate my personal life, but I'm not going to say I hate it. I'm very blessed. I just am trying to find ways to enjoy it. Is I'm buying, because out in Europe, they got decimated. So all these people who have families and people who had a lot of money and had old alchemy books don't have any money anymore. So they need money. So they're willing to sell their 500-year-old books that I never could get my hands on anymore. I have some books coming that are going to take a month to get here, but they're 500 plus years old. Some of them are in Latin. So I'm like on the side trying to like do, I guess, learn some Latin. But at the same time, it's opened up a great door for me and just buying all the books that I've always wanted to buy. Even though these are English reprints, of course, done. But in alchemy, one of the things is, especially the John Dee's work that I think separates him from pretty much every other alchemist out there, is, I want to read a line from this, because he actually sounds a lot like people who are questioning things as they're questioning right now. Because, of course, there's the supreme mysteries of nature itself. But more importantly, in alchemy, there was also in Hermeticism, which of course deals with Mercury, there was a mainstream version of Hermeticism, and then there was another that saw the whole truth. Okay? So I'm just finding the line. Here's one of the lines. This is from his Theorem 20. Should anyone who is ignorant of this divine learning say that in this position of our binary, the point can be absent? So he's talking a lot. I mean, I'm already kind of fast tracking people into this, but it's the whole thing. That basically, people who can't see beyond just, even those that can see spiritually, in their face can't see the deeper part of what are already in Hermeticism, the four elements, and especially when you look at the hieroglyphic monad, which this is what this book and this work was done in 1564, which was that Mercury is all the planets in one, okay? And then more important than that, it's not just the four elements that are the cross, but understanding the number 5 and understanding to see beyond that. You can't get just stuck in those four elements, which of course is fire and the ether too. And unfortunately, we live in a scientific world now today that is completely disconnected from this work. So here's the original part of it right here in Latin, and I'll show you it in English. Okay, so and that's the glyph of Mercury that not only John Dee but a bunch of others were using. And we almost are in a false astrology today for not using this Mercury, because technically if you think about Gemini and you think about Mercury and you think about the twins and you think that Virgo rules Mercury and so does Gemini, why aren't we using the sibling, the feminine Mercury as well? Why is there only one Mercury? Of course, it's easy to say because it's like, oh, well, there's only one Mercury that's next to the sun. But with the mysteries of the universe that there is, when Mercury goes around the other side of the sun, or Mercury's involved with the moon in moments, or we're in more of a feminine cycle of things, why can't we understand that there are two forms of Mercury? And why can't we understand that there actually is two Mercuries? It's a lot like how the church has been built up, right? That there's only male priests, and there's only male popes, and there's only male this. There's no feminine allowed. And what's the number one thing? You could even hear it on Joe Biden's speech tonight, that 2 million women are out of the workforce. But didn't have the courage to talk about the millions of women complaining about what is going on with their menstrual cycles right now due to the fact of hanging around people who got the shot. That this whole time, I watched another video too that really blew my mind. I'm going to have to find it because I think it just got taken away. But that many female CEOs were just exposed over the last 15 years to actually used to be men. So it was like the men in the masculine is always trying to win in every situation, including if they have to get to the top and to be whatever they will, they'll change themselves into be a woman to play this whole, we really care about the feminine, but really be a man underneath. Same thing's happening in the sports. Now, I'm not saying that I'm against people who want to do it in their own personal life. I'm talking about how the society is working and how the system is going against the feminine always, constantly, including in astrology. Because in the English part of this, which I'll show you, what does it say at the top? He who does not understand should either learn or be silent. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth. No, they want you to think that earth is fucked and toxic and not enjoy the earth at all. The sacred symbol of oneness, which would be Mercury, which would be understanding and seeing the whole picture and putting the whole picture together, which is what people aren't doing right now. People are separating and they're not being hermetic. It's more than the binary of the duality, and it's more than the quantification of 4 elements. It's seeing the oneness within all those things. And so if you don't know how to do that in your life right now about like, am I going to take on this job? Am I going to take on this relationship? Am I getting this shot? I talked to a lot deeper. I think it was my last show, or maybe, I don't know when it was, but it was just in the last week, where Pluto retrograde with a full moon in Scorpio is, you have to take it deeper down the levels, right? So it's like, okay, I use the example because we're in these times, like I want to get the shot. But because that's the only way I can go to school. But I really don't want to go to school. But I'm going to school because my mom wants me to go to school. So that means you're going and doing something that you don't want to do because your mom wants you to go to school, which you don't want to do, but you really want to go do this in your life. You have to be able to look and see, is that connecting your life into a place that's going to be abundant and create the things that you really want in your life? Or is that going to take you down the worst rabbit hole you've ever been in your life? And take you away from not only the dew of heaven, but also enjoying the fatness of the earth. There was another line, then I'll show you the glyph, so you understand this glyph. And this is stuff I did a long time ago, but it was like, because maybe it's the North Node Gemini, I'm born with North Node Gemini, and I've been doing a lot of Hermetic work, of course, with my work and the history. and I just did it all with Dante's work. But I was just like, this just kind of fell back into my lap. It was just one of those things that just like, sometimes you have to go back to basics and go back to where you started with. But I laughed at the very end of this book that he wrote. Because, he wrote this in 1564. The eye of the vulgar will here be obscured and most distrustful. Intellect judges truth. But the way that it's spelled, because if you understand the cross, you can take that cross and you can break it apart and you can set it as like two L's. You can set it as two triangles up and down, which would be the other element, but also would be a different part of balance in the universe. And also when you have to understand that in Latin, but especially in Greek too, in the number system, the number 5 is a V, right? So, but you can also create 2 V's, which equal a 10. So you would think that it would be more of a cross, but no, really it's 2 V's that would create 10. And then of course when you go, I don't want to go through it all. I'm thinking about just doing a whole crazy course on all this shit, but I just am trying to show you all that. Another thing that he said here at the end is, to whom God gave the will and ability to record this divine mystery in a written memorial, and to complete these his labors. And then of course he writes, peacefully, January 25th, having begun on the 13th day of the same in the year 1564. But he ends with, thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive the glory and honor and the power, for thou hast haste created all things. Because of thy will they are and have been created. Amen. The 4th letter. Now, if you want to understand more deeper about the glyph, this book has it best. This is the hieroglyphic monad right here. Okay? And that's because you have the moon that's exalted in Taurus and Aries at the bottom. Okay? Because that's the start of the chart. But it also is the ether, the fire. That's the 5th element, truly. Is ether. Not fire, but ether. Of course, you see every planet in here. So you see the moon, you see the sun in the middle. Of course, you see Venus. Of course, you see Mercury because it completes it. But you also see Saturn if you do this and then go that way. And then you see Jupiter if you go and look the other way. And Mars, original in old traditions, was just the circle with the line to Aries. Okay? That's how it used to be. So all the planets are in here, and they all connect within this monad. So, but this also brings up that there's a feminine attached, because the sun's exalted in Aries, and you also then have the moon that's exalted in Taurus. So you get the exaltation points of the sun, and then you get the moon there that's happy in the earth in Taurus. And of course, Venus is involved with this, and Aries is involved with this, because you see both of those in there. So there's that other connection to this too. But if you pretty much don't realize too that the Christian cross that's longer doesn't make any sense, because it's not in alignment also with the universe. So here, just to kind of show people the glyphs of the planets one more time, and I'll change this. Right? We're going here. So you can see what Mars is, and you can see what Venus is if you don't know, but then you can put them all together right here, right? So see how the moon sits at the top? This is the hidden, and this is the real thing that we are all searching for in the spiritual community all the time, is the hidden Mercury that we're not shown. The feminine and the masculine that does learn how to come together. Because in the position of all the planets, in the hierarchy system of the planets, that's not what you see. In Mercury, you just see the antennas, and then the line into the bottom, which doesn't understand that there's a invisible Mercury, which is the truth that's not seen unless you understand to be able to speak it, because you understand it. So what we're identifying in the world right now as truth is only what is being seen, but not that is what is being unseen, that people are feeling, and they have every right to feel it because they're putting the pieces together and they all make sense to an agenda that is not from the light, that is not from the divine, and that is synthetic itself, literally. And everything else that is being installed is artificial. Everything else that's showing up in the world is not from the divine, and it is not syncing up. So when people are seeing now the falsity, that most people go, there's a conspiracy, but it's truth, because if you understand the Matrix and Neo, Agent Smith is the opposite of that, right? Because Agent Smith tries to infect the whole Matrix to become him. Because if the one shows up, which is the truth, the light and the way, then of course there'll be a counter opposite, which we're seeing right now. Which in many ways could be the false Mercury, right? Which is like this whole science thing, and like the synthetic science and the AI, and more important than that, just also the propaganda of the storytelling, which is opposite the Mercury. This shouldn't be storytelling. This should be making sure that everything in life right now connects and doesn't change the natural order and the natural mysteries of the universe that work every time for us and always have our back. But there's a force out there that is changing it and having you buy it, and this is what this pressure is in your life. If things are not working in your life because you're feeling that something's off at this moment, or you're feeling that it's not connecting to you, or that there's some sort of misconnection point, one, there's delays, okay, with the square to Saturn, because it's making sure that you're not taking into your life right now a falsity, a lie, and a false truth. That's basically a synthetic truth. A synthetic truth. Because if you can't put these things together and you're not able to see the natural order of the universe, that you could even see in the cross, that you could also put it like that, which of course in the Roman numerals is 5, which is the 5th element, or the 5th way to see everything too. Which of course is the number of Mercury as well, 5. Or with L, which every angel ends with L. Gabriel, Michael. So you can take the crosses and make them L's too. And so every angel ends in an L. Like the actual spelling of it. The false cross is the cross that's together and elongated, because it's not balanced. It should be separate and understand the wholeness with this in the middle. This being very long is not, which I talked about in Age of Deception, which you watch for free, of course, on YouTube. What's it missing? The heart. This is not a part of its substantial proportions, but only the confused and the superfluous point, which is rejected and removed. Meaning, at this moment when it is separated, the quaternary remains, and it becomes much more clear and distinct to the eyes of it all. But when the mortals are constrained to confess what great wisdom And what ineffable mysteries reside in the law which thou hast made. Thou all these points and these letters, the most sublime secrets and terrestrial arcane mysteries, as well as the multiple revelations of this unique point, now placed in the light and examined by me, can be faithfully demonstrated and explained. The point is not superfluous, I don't even know how to say that word back then. Super and then florus? Within the divine trinity, yet when considered, on the other hand, within the kingdom of the four elements, it is black, therefore corruptible and watery. So basically, the corruption is everything that looks like it is, which is very matrixy, without seeing through it and seeing the essence of God behind it all. And whatever is showing up as it looks like it is physically going to work, but it is missing the actual fifth element, which is even funnier, the movie The Fifth Element, right? Even in that movie, Bruce Willis won't even accept her as the fifth element. You know what I mean? Until the end of the movie, when fucking it almost all gets destroyed and the fifth element saves the day, right? That everything that's showing up in your life right now, the reason that you're going through kind of like a, is this connected or not, is you're making sure that this is not a false thing that I'm going to be sovereign about and take in, and making sure that this is going to be connecting in all places in my life, the same way that you see the connection to Mercury and all of the planets, and now they all come together. And this is a very interesting point that we have right now with Saturn square Uranus, because this is crazy science experiments that go wrong. This is instability in those realms. This is you getting pressure to go through crazy science experiments, whether it's the shot or whether it's you going through a crazy situation with what society wants you to do or what some people in your life want you to do that doesn't feel like it's part of what you want to ascend in your area of your life. That if you don't understand that, then you really can't. And you know, why would you listen to anybody's voice who doesn't come from that divine place? Which real true divinity does. If you understand history, and even this was Queen Elizabeth, the first astrologer, John Dee. She also then questioned him, though, because people tried to convince her of that, which again, then her son, well, not her son, her nephew, King James, creates the Book of Demonology because of this kind of shit. Then creates the King James Bible, which everybody is following today, which is the most false Bible you can ever listen to. That the feminine energy right now, since we are in Taurus, has been lied to. And is even being lied to by the masculine, by masculine turning into feminine and saying they're feminine while they're masculine and taking over big CEO jobs this whole time. And it blew my mind when I saw that info. It blew my fucking mind, because I know a lot of women that are like, I'm inspired because I see all these women get to these really big places in life, and I'm gonna get there, right? And the whole time, most of them were men who dressed up as ladies and got there, and then they promoted them that way. That's another false truth. And I think the biggest false truth that's going on right now is like, how many women are going through the fucking crazy shit they're going through right now? Number one, having to take care of kids through this story that's shutting things down, and then selling that we're going to take care of you. We're going to do this, but we're also going to remove all the rights, and we're going to tax the crap out of the job that you had a job with, and all these things. It just all makes no sense at the end of the day. Nothing is making any connective sense, especially with Uranus square Saturn. It's shattered reality. But the reality is never shattered if you are following this and you understand how it all comes together and how the truth comes together too. And that feminine energy must be understood and must be integrated into our place in society. And it's not in the way that it's being sold of how to do it. It's not about like, quote unquote, the way that you would do women's right. It's the complete understanding of the feminine itself within the whole reality, not just because you're a male and a female. It's much deeper than that. And it's a shame that we're living in a world right now that it's the feminine that sees it all and knows how to bring it all together. And we're in a moment right now where the history of Pluto and where it's at now and where it's going over this next decade and longer was the lowest rate in the population last time, was the lowest rate of children being born. The census just proved that over the last 10 years that it was the low, America's population has been going down. But also the idea that the world is going to overpopulate is just crazy because obviously the astrology doesn't say that. And we're starting to see evidence of that. And we're also starting to see women complain of really weird menstrual situations going on. And to even question right now, which is important to do, with people who see the truth and people who see through the reality that if you were to question the one voice that's giving all the answers, or maybe two, which by the way, the CDC director sits on a green screen. Why isn't she at the CDC directing like fucking office? Why does she have a green screen behind her? She's sitting at home telling everybody how to live. I thought that she would be hanging out with every doctor in the world, like fucking figuring this whole thing out. Obviously she's not, since she's having to do every report on green screen. So you're telling me that the doctors that are supposed to save the world in America and be the gold standard, as they're saying right now, are separated from themselves and not talking to each other, not looking at each other, not working. But all the doctors that are actually giving the truth out about things are all getting together and actually doing this shit and are being censored? Why do you think I talked about shattered reality so much? And some people could say she's an actor or stuff like that. Somebody in the industry said that. I don't know. All I'm saying is common sense. Let's not get too crazy and taking away and just making up stories even for that. I don't know if she's an actor or not. She's obviously been approved by the fucking Senate and so forth, or by the administration. Okay. But why is she not, why is she doing her reports on a green screen saying CDC in the background? Go look at every CDC director's video of her. And she's on a green screen. Why? So, to end this, the pressure is not only in your personal life, but it's in the way that we are as a human race at this moment. Based upon the astrology, that the sun is going to cover this square of Saturn being squared by Uranus now. It's not the other way around. It's not Saturn square Uranus anymore. It's now flipped, which the same way that Mercury can flip to now it is, the sun is going to conjunct Uranus and square Saturn. As those are the faster moving bodies now in Taurus that are going to square a slowed down Saturn in its home though, that has its betrayal aspects in the house of getting rid of betrayal. But Saturn there, even though he's at home, he's only at home because his fucking daddy lives there, Uranus. That's Uranus's house. So astrology, 100%. And if any, I will debate any astrologer that wants to come up here and debate me on a live or anything like that, that the human race and that all of people's ideas, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them about the betrayal to the human race right now is going down. I want you to fucking use astrology, use all of the old traditions, use the stories that built astrology, and try and tell me that betrayal is not happening in the astrology around the world. And if any astrologer wants to have that debate about me, please write me. Please, I will show up and I will do it with them live. And we can go through the stories. And at every fucking time you can go into that debate with me, any other astrologers that want to join me too, we can go debate any astrologer out there that's trying to say that there is no, and that follow the guidelines of the universe of what the governments are saying and all that shit. They don't have any harm involved. They don't have any of this shit involved. They are fucking not astrologers because they are betraying you. They're betraying you because they don't fucking read. They don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. They don't even fucking know about this shit. I guarantee you 100%, most of them. They don't even fucking know. They don't know. They haven't done all their shit. I have the receipts for fucking a long time. A long fucking time. They didn't put the Dante thing together. They didn't put any of the fucking age shit together for you all. They didn't put anything together. And they're fucking out there trying to tell you, you know what, I'll call them out. I cannot believe the Astro twins are astrologers? Really? They're telling people in their horoscopes, for people who got the shot, because Virgos are going through a 9th house transit, you can go travel farther than other people if you're a Virgo who didn't get the shot. How stressful to a Virgo can that be? When a Virgo is anybody with a Virgo, anything in their chart, rising sun, moon, Venus, anything like that, is already tripping out about health all the time. And how dare you as astrologers start using that kind of shit to be like, you can only go farther in life if you get this fucking shot. You are a disgrace to astrology. You are the disgrace to the human race at this moment. And anybody out there in the world right now that will not listen to all forms of things. And you know what? I'll even use Biden in those words. Let's have the debates. We need to have the debates of life right now. We need to have the questions answered about where's the studies of what this thing's going to do long term. Why are you giving all of the fucking one shot that we're all not taking in America and giving it to India as like, well, here's our crap that doesn't obviously work great and causes a lot of fucking issues, and we'll give it to fucking India. You really think that's doing good for India? Or do you think that's doing bad for India? The FDA right now is having to fucking go through a fucking make sure it's another safety trial, but what's a safety trial for Indians opposed to Americans? How fucked up is that shit? That's fucking sending a bioweapon to people. And so in your life, are you betraying yourself? Are you betraying yourself by staying in that horrible fucking relationship, that horrible job? Are you betraying yourself by not standing up into your truth, where you see where everything connects, that you see that fifth element, you see the truth of life, you see what's really true and honest to yourself, what's going to ascend you and make you into a better place? Are you also at the same time, which is where the pressure is, making sure that those choices and those decisions are making the best choice for humanity at the end, and it's not the story that's on the media of what the best choice is for the fucking world, because we have no data and no facts, and it's got no Hermeticism, it's got no natural science, it's got no natural art, it's got no divinity attached to it at all. It's synthetic, it's fake. It's not true. It's not divine. It has no divinity to it. Even the Egyptians fucking in all their work have the understandings in the hieroglyphics of what is divinity in their insignia, what is masculine and what is feminine, what is a king or what is not a king, or a queen and what is not a queen. In every hieroglyphic there is. So don't even try right now, anybody out there, and try and give me this whole fucking like counter to this and try and say that anything right now that is being said is fucking factual and true when it is not. They're even playing with all the words. And then the idea of the Second Amendment tonight being thrown as it's just for hunters to go shoot, and that, you know, Guess what? Fucking, oh, yeah, because deer are fucking not wearing Kevlar vests. No, the Second Amendment has nothing to do about your right to bear arms till the end of it. It has to form militias and to protect yourself from the fucking government. From doing crazy shit to you and going out of fucking order. That's why it's there. Read your fucking shit. That's hilarious. That was not planned. But fucking, So, you know, it's like one of those things where it's like, what happened to people's fucking common sense? What happened to reading the basics of laws and natural laws? Because right now we're seeing people breaking the laws for humanity and not following the natural laws. And so you have to apply that into your life. Are you following an unnatural law that is not the law that you actually are required to by, is to live your life in the pursuit of liberty and happiness? Are you not following the natural laws of the universe and trying to continue to fucking push something, to create something that is false for your life and is not connected to the divine and not connected to what's all connecting? Because everything in the world that you should be living in should all connect to your happiness and to your wholesomeness. I started the show talking about how I don't feel connected at my home. I feel more connected at my work. But I have to do that truth in work, and how that home should connect with me, and what is the things about me going home and reading, which of course this is the work I'm doing right now with all the alchemy books and all the ones I have shipped, the actual books and fucking pages that are like fucking $500 I'm paying fucking for just to have one page of a book that's from the original. Like, I'll do that because that's what fills up my personal life and my research to give out to you all. But it's like one of those things that it's like, what's counterfeit? And I know that one of the people that I was friends with, but I guess we're not friends, tried to make fun of me last week about talking about counterfeit energy. It's just more of the quality of this whole idea of counterfeitism of, you know, where are you being honest? Where are you being truthful? And acting like you're not is not real. It's counterfeit. And creating distractionary, you know, situations to make it take your eye off the truth. Including within yourself. And so this is going to be a pressure week. I mean, the moon is done being full. It's going to come through Capricorn. It's going to hit that Pluto retrograde. And it's going to give us a deep look at how we can restore by making choices in our life that are for us best in the long term. While we're going through the Saturn conjunct Uranus and starting to square over to Saturn, or the Sun, Uranus, and the square to Saturn. And I'll end with this. With the North Node being on Aldebaran and in Gemini, and the South Node being on Antares, this is the battle of the light and the dark. And the light right now is with Aldebaran and with Archangel Michael, L, who always has his foot on the one that betrayed, and the one that was all stuck in his way, in his own world that he wanted to have of darkness, and always has his foot on his fucking face to make sure that he doesn't come into the world of the divine. And right now, Michael is holding that motherfucker, but guess what? It's all of us, and whether or not we follow the light and stay in the light and not fall for the falsity and not fall for the fake shit everywhere. That is so important right now, because that makes that dark side stronger and makes Michael's job a lot harder and makes the human side and the true energy of the Pleiades, which is where our roots of humanity go towards in the star system, harder to keep that foot on that darkness that's trying to come in. And you can feel it all around. And Archangel Michael represents truth. And he is, in Aldebaran, is a truth. And it is a truth, and it is a gateway that protects those sisters that are hanging out in the Pleiades, that are bright stars, but they are a little bit more faint. They're not as strong as Aldebaran, that has to go against the great red giant that is 300 to 500 times the size of our sun. And guess who is in the Pleiades? Hermes' mother, Mercury's mom of truth, who got raped. By Jupiter. By Zeus. So even though Jupiter does restore the balance in the zodiac of the betrayal between Saturn and Uranus, it's Mercury that is the one that never betrays. It can trick, but it maybe had to learn to be a trickster because it was born from a rape. It's a bastard child through Zeus raping his mother and being born to be the counterpart to this Zeus-like god of the universe and big, expansive qualities, which, of course, most astrologers use Jupiter as like this end-all, be-all, as everything's going to be all good, when we are not in a time when that is that, because there is a trickster energy out there that is using stories and using hope and using, like I have told you all, oh, you can go outside, but this is so the science changed the second that people didn't want to get the shot. Nobody's going to say that shit out loud. Science changed just, it's a coincidence. No, that's the divine showing you to look at who's fucking lying to you and who's changing the story and changing the story and changing the story and changing the story and changing the story to meet their own needs against humanity. And I'm not going to get into who that is and start targeting. It's this agenda and that. That's not my bag, baby. You know what my bag is? Giving you the fucking universal energy and knowing how to see through and know how to see through, so you make that determination for yourself. That's not my job for you for me to determine exactly which players in this fucking false matrix reality that they're fucking doing are the ones, but to know the energy of what it is, because that's your only way out of this, is to understand and use your common sense to understand what that false energy is. That's all we have. Don't get lost in the stories and all the characters of the stories. Don't get lost in Fauci. Don't get lost in Biden. Don't get lost in all that shit. Get clear and get present with what your effect of owning the sovereignty of the rights and the liberties of a human being. Uranus, the liberties of the sacred element of Taurus, where the moon in our personal lives are exalted in. Into the garden that is the physical earth that was given to by the divine. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth, which actually comes from before the Bible in Genesis. That the idea that there are people trying to take away heaven's dew, heaven's glory, and heaven's gift of this beautiful earth and that personal life that you have been bestowed with the grace to live it and to express it and to be here for, anything that goes against it is evil. I hate to, that's just truth. And any astrologer out there that is fucking pushing you to go the other direction right now is fucking been taken over by that fucking dark force and has forgotten their fucking oath. I don't have that book here, but has forgotten that oath. That astrologer's oath that goes back to 325 AD, 320 AD. And they are not living in their truth, and they are pushing you lies, and they are pushing you their political agenda. And people are going to say that I pushed a political agenda. I was pushing anybody who was saying the side of freedom, liberty, and everything that connects, that makes common fucking sense. And I hate to say it, but that was on that side. And also, the planets were on that side for that person. In the realm of truth. And you don't want to fucking handle it. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to fucking look at it. Because you buy the fucking Neptunian show. So good luck with you astrologers out there, or anybody who watches this video, with the rest of Neptune at the end of Pisces, and you falling so hard for the deception that you're going to be in the South like it was in 1860 into 61 when it comes into Aries. You're going to be that person. Because you didn't want to fucking use this, and you didn't want to look at the truth, and you didn't even want to look at the astrology of it. You know whose planets and rising is all by the South Node and where Antares or Aldebaran or Antares is right now in the dark? Guess who was speaking tonight? But you don't want to look at that shit. Guess who Saturn sits right on top of Aldebaran, where Archangel Michael sits? That man who spoke tonight. Who, ironically enough, it progressed direct in 2020. And you know what? I'm out at this moment because I'm already going too truthful. I'm already on that high of truth so hard and so real that most astrologers out there are not going to be able to handle that shit. They're not going to be able to handle that. Because you know why? I've been to all the UAC. I've been to, well, not every UAC, but I've been to two UACs in the last decade. I've been to ISAR. I've been to all these astrology gatherings, and they all are sucking each other's dicks and every other thing to look fucking like they understand and know, and they forgot their fucking roots, and they forgot the understanding of this great, beautiful art, and they forgot about you, the fucking human being that they're here to serve with. The three wise men, which is the mind, the body, and the soul. And they are not connecting all three, and they are not connecting, more importantly, all parts of the binary and of the quantum element, and to actually look at in between what is those, which is the centerpiece, which is understanding how it all comes together in the heart. And they have forgotten that shit. They have forgotten it completely. And they wanted to make fun of somebody for 4 fucking years. And they wanted to fucking just, that's all anybody, and that's what the dark does. No wonder the Oscars had the worst ratings of all time. No wonder the NBA fucking has the worst ratings of all time. No wonder everything connected to the side that you're trying to push right now is decimated because there's so many people in the light right now. And they are not being heard, and they are not being seen, because just the same way that fucking the real Mercury is not seen, they're not being seen either. And you should feel good that you're not being seen. If you're on the sign that won't be heard, that won't be seen, that won't be allowed to talk, and won't be allowed to be listened to, you're on the right side, because the evil is out to try and discredit that truth, because they are following a false energy, and they don't want you to know this, and they don't want you to see this. And in the astrology community, 70 to 80% of them are in that fucking world. And I will call them out because I am disgusted as an astrologer. I'm disgusted. Rereading this made me disgusted. That they forgot about the sacred symbol of oneness. They forgot about how to become one. Which is not by forcing people to do things that are synthetic, or telling people to go follow people that fucking promote lies and propaganda that go against your liberty and go against your freedom of the dew of heaven that is going to bring you to the fatness of the fucking earth. That you were allowed to have all the power of. It was the gift from God, and you still do now. And don't give that shit away, and don't be part of that system at this moment, because if you are, then you have betrayed humanity, and you've betrayed yourself, and you've betrayed the one that gave you all these wonders. I love you all very much. That's what I have to say for this week. And I don't know how that's going to fit for you in your personal life because it's your life. And I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to give you the clues. I'm going to give you the way. I'm going to give you the light. And I'm going to give you the truth. But it's your life. It's your way. And I believe in you. That's the only place I can use the South Node in Sagittarius. I believe in you to follow your truth and to not treat humanity as when a breadcrumb comes out from the dark, that it is more than a breadcrumb and it is the gold standard. It is not. The gold standard is with the divine. And the gold standard is with the earth that is already yours, that already the heavens have bestowed upon you. And do not let any other prayer pressure in the world take you away, because I'm not pressuring you. I am giving you all that I can give you to realize that you don't need to follow into peer pressure to do whatever you want. I'll even show you how much non-peer pressure I am. If you want to go follow that side and go do that, go do it. That's how much I want you to find you're happy. If you're happy with that, and you're happy with that side, and you're happy with going into that evil, or if you believe it's light and you believe it's light, I'm still going to allow you to go there. But if anybody wants to properly, in the astrology community, debate me right now that humanity is not being betrayed in the deepest of ways by exactly what we're seeing right now in this moment, not last year, with the other side, but right now, where the hits of the astrology are hitting and the falsities that are happening, and everything that was said to be false was not. Now everything was retrograde. Yeah, really. I'm ending it. I love you all. I'll see you soon. Join highvibe.tv. Make sure you check out Purgatory. I'm going to end with that Purgatory clip so you all know the truth. If you all want to see the truth, because I can't say everything I want to say on here. I can't. It's too much. I already went right to that fucking line. So, appreciate you all. See y'all later.